Stop everything for a moment. Breathe. Because what you're about to hear is not just another video nor a motivational message. It's a calling, a divine calling, an echo coming directly from heaven. And if you're hearing this right now, know this. It's not a coincidence. It's an answer. It's alignment. It's God Himself knocking at the door of your spirit asking to come in. Maybe you felt it in recent days. A silent restlessness. A tiredness that isn't physical. A tightness in your chest that has no explanation. As if the world is screaming, but your heart is whispering something much greater. It's because there is a calling on your life. Something urgent, sacred, final. A spiritual summons that can no longer be ignored. And the strongest truth, most of the chosen don't respond. Many hear it, but hesitate. They feel it, but postpone. The signs appear. And even then, they go back to sleep. But not you. Because if you made it this far, it's because something inside you is ready to awaken. Something that God Himself placed in you before your birth. And now, that something is beating stronger than ever. You know you're not like the others. You've always known. Since childhood, you've seen the world differently. You felt the pain of others. You saw things no one else talked about. It's as if heaven spoke to you in silence, and now it's speaking loudly. This video is not an accident. It's a breath from above saying, don't delay any longer, because the time for doubt has passed. The time to hide is over. 99% of the chosen ignore God's final call. But you are among the 1% who stop, who listen, who open themselves to the supernatural. You didn't come here out of curiosity. You came because something in you cries out for a response. You came because God wants to raise you up now. This is the moment when your story changes direction, when promises draw near, when revelation arrives, when the yes that leaves your mouth opens doors in heaven. Don't let this pass you by. Spiritual time is accelerating. Confirmations are everywhere. And this is the last call before the shift. What you choose now will echo forever. If all of this is stirring your spirit, write in the comments. 777. I hear God's calling. This is not just a number. It's a seal, a code of response, a testimony written into the lines of the unseen that says, here I am. Now, let's go deeper, because what God wants to reveal to you today will change everything. Since the very first breath of your existence, even in your mother's womb, God had already planted within you a sacred spark. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. You didn't come into this world by chance. You were created with an eternal purpose to carry a light that does not belong to this world. A light that resists darkness, that endures battles, that remains lit even when everything around you seems to fall apart. Have you noticed that even in the midst of pain, something inside you never gives up? That no matter how hard everything feels, there's a quiet strength holding you up from within? That's not stubbornness. It's not pride. It's the mark of being chosen. It's the presence of the divine pulsing through your soul. While many give up, you keep going. While others settle, something in you keeps pushing forward. Because there's a plan over your life that hasn't been fully revealed yet, but has already started to manifest. And that's why, even without fully understanding, you felt the need to hear this message. Because your soul already knows this calling. Because the spirit that dwells in you recognizes the voice of your Creator. And what God is saying right now is, I set you apart, I have lifted you up, and the time has come for you to remember who you are. The world tried to erase this truth. It used words to diminish you, circumstances to confuse you, people to hurt you. But none of these things were enough to extinguish the essence God placed within you. And today, He's reigniting that flame. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. It doesn't matter how many times you felt lost. The spark is still there. And now it's about to turn into fire. That fire will purify what needs to be cleansed. It will illuminate the path that once seemed dark. It will burn away fear, doubt, guilt, and ignite faith, courage, and truth. The world may not see it in you yet, but heaven is already rejoicing. Because when a chosen one awakens, the entire universe aligns to fulfill the plan. Do you feel it? Don't ignore it. Because that light within you, since the very beginning, was never meant to stay hidden. It was born to illuminate generations. Even with the divine spark lit within you, there are outside forces trying to put out your flame every day. And the most dangerous part, they don't come screaming, they whisper. They don't appear as enemies, they disguise themselves as advice, as logic, as reality. These are the voices of the world. Voices that say, you're not enough, you're too late, it's better to give up. Voices that don't come from God, yet many mistake them for truth. How many times have you heard those voices and started to doubt yourself? How many times have you felt your dreams were too big? That your faith seemed excessive? That your calling was just your imagination? These weren't natural doubts. They were spiritual strategies to silence you, to keep you from walking the path that God Himself wrote for your life. And maybe, without realizing it, you began to quiet yourself, to hide, to live, trying to please, trying to fit in, trying to survive in a world that was never meant to recognize the brilliance of someone who came from the light. Because those who carry a divine calling disturb those who live on autopilot. Your presence changes atmospheres. Your awareness disrupts structures. Your faith exposes the unbelief of the system. That's why the world tried to convince you that being normal was better. But God didn't call you to be ordinary. He called you to be set apart, to be light where there is darkness, to be a voice where there is silence, to be a bridge where there is a gap. The truth is, as long as you listen to the world more than you listen to heaven, God's plan will remain in the background. But today, that balance is about to change. Because you are hearing the only voice that truly matters, the voice of God telling you that there's still time to return to the path, still time to silence the external voices and go back to hearing what the Spirit has always whispered within you. I have plans for peace. I have a future. I have promises. But I need you to trust me more than any other voice. And now the choice presents itself. Will you keep listening to the noise of doubt, or will you surrender to the whisper of truth? There is an open door before you right now, a spiritual door invisible to the eyes, but real in the realm of the Spirit. This door wasn't flung open by human strength or personal effort. It was opened by the very hands of God. And do you know why? Because the appointed time has come, the time when heaven touches earth and invites the chosen ones to step out of waiting and into the promise. But here's a truth that few are willing to face. This door will not remain open forever. Most people live as if there's plenty of time, as if God's calling can be postponed, as if the spiritual life can wait for later. But the Spirit is saying, now. It's now, not later. Because there are blessings that are only released when obedience is immediate. There are miracles that only happen in the timing of faith, not in the timing of logic. You feel this calling, don't you? That sense of urgency in your spirit, that deep intuition that something is shifting in the unseen. That's because it truly is. There is a spiritual movement taking place, a prophetic window open, a divine season that will not return. Those who enter, enter. Those who hesitate, miss it. Not as punishment, but because God's timing is holy, and when He calls, it's because everything has already been prepared. Many will say it's not the right time, that it's better to wait, that they're not ready yet. But the truth is that no one ever really feels ready for what is divine. Readiness doesn't come before the calling. It comes after surrender, after the yes, after the faith. You are standing before the door now, and it is slightly open, waiting for your decision. what will you do? If this message resonated within you, comment 777 right now as a sign that you're hearing this call from heaven, because the door's open, but only for a short while. When a chosen one says yes to God, something shifts instantly in the invisible realm. It's not just a symbolic gesture or an emotional prayer, it's more than that. It's a spiritual contract being signed between heaven and earth. It's as if, in that very moment, the dormant mission inside the soul begins to awaken. What was once silent rises. What seemed forgotten falls into place. What felt impossible starts to take shape. This reconnection with your mission doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with clarity, with peace, with direction. It's as if you finally begin to understand why you had to go through so much pain, why you had to face certain voids, why things never quite made sense until now. Everything begins to align when you surrender. When you decide you'll stop running from the calling. When you stop trying to control everything and choose to trust. And make no mistake, this yes doesn't need to come with certainty. It comes with surrender. God is not waiting for you to be completely ready, just completely willing. When you say yes, even without knowing all the details, God begins to shift everything around you. People are removed, doors open, cycles close, and your purpose begins to speak louder than your fear. This reconnection with your mission is the most sacred moment in the journey of a chosen one. Because no matter how long you've been away, lost, or wounded, God never took his eyes off you. The mission is still alive. The calling still stands. The promises are still valid. They were only waiting for one thing, your yes. And maybe as you read this, your heart is beating faster. Maybe you're remembering the child who dreamed of something greater, the teenager who always felt different, the adult who grew tired of chasing the wind. Know this reconnection is with yourself, with the version of you that God has always seen even when you forgot who you were. So, if today is the day you choose to say yes, write it down, declare it, comment, I say yes to my mission. Because with that, yes, heaven moves and your new life begins. Every time a chosen one awakens, hell trembles because the enemy knows exactly what's at stake. He knows that when a child of God rises up with awareness, faith, and obedience, chains are broken, spiritual territories are taken, and entire lives are set free simply by the presence of someone who carries light. That's why, from the very beginning, the plan of darkness was never to destroy you directly. It was to distract you, to place noise along your path, the wrong voices, toxic relationships, repetitive cycles. It was to make you doubt yourself, question your worth, ignore your gifts. The enemy didn't need to kill you, he just needed you to forget who you are, and for a time, maybe he succeeded. But God never gave up. Even in your darkest days, he was there. Even when you walked away, he walked with you in silence. Because those who are chosen carry a promise that hell cannot erase. And that's why you are here now. Because this is the turning point. The moment when God rises in your defense and says, enough. It's time to stop fighting with carnal weapons. Time to stop accepting the lies the enemy planted in your mind. God is giving you spiritual authority to take back control of your journey. You are not defeated. You are not weak. You are not lost. You are being repositioned. Everything you've been through was part of a training ground. Harsh, painful, unfair, but necessary. Because now, you are ready to walk in authority. God's word in Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." That promise is not symbolic, it's literal. It means that no accusation, no attempt, no spiritual attack can resist God's hand over your life. The enemy tried, but he lost. Because when a chosen one awakens, they never go back to sleep. You are standing, wounded perhaps, but alive, and you're not here by chance. You're here because the spiritual war has already shifted, and now it's you who advances. There are moments in history when God raises up ordinary people for extraordinary missions. And when we look to the heavens for answers, we sometimes forget that the answer is already within us. That's how it was with Esther, a young orphan with no titles, no power, no fame, but with something no empire could contain, a divine purpose. Esther was placed in a position of honor not by luck, but by design. She didn't understand everything right away. She was afraid to. She hesitated to. But there came a moment when she understood that she hadn't been brought to the palace by chance. She was there to intercede for a people, to be a voice where there was silence, to be a bridge between threat and salvation. And this is where the Spirit confronts us. You too were placed exactly where you are in this time, with that heart, with these experiences for a greater purpose. It may seem like what you've lived was random, but everything has an invisible thread that leads to the mission God entrusted to you. Your pain, your losses, your unexpected turns, all of it was divine permission to shape someone who doesn't just carry faith, but carries authority. Just like Esther, you were hidden for a time, trained in silence, prepared in the shadows, until the exact moment. And that moment has arrived. Maybe you still feel small, full of doubts, insecurities, or fear about what's coming. But what defines a chosen one isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to move forward in spite of it. God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for willingness. And when he finds a willing heart, he entrusts entire destinies into its hands. You may not yet see the weight of the spiritual responsibility you carry, but heaven sees it. And heaven is ready to release a new level over your life as long as you say, yes, I accept my mission. Because just like Esther, you were born for such a time as this. When we hear the expression, last call, it's natural for the heart to feel a weight, an urgency, almost as if we're being charged, pressured, or threatened. But God doesn't work through fear. God doesn't force, doesn't push, doesn't manipulate. He invites, he calls with love, he waits with patience. And when he allows a last call to reach a chosen one, it's not punishment, it's mercy. Because heaven knows how long you've been fighting alone. It knows how often your soul has cried out for direction in silence. It knows how many nights you wept in secret, trying to understand why doors kept closing, why people walked away, why nothing seemed to make sense. And now, when you least expected it, the answer has arrived, not as a shout, but as a sacred call. Return, surrender, I'm still here. This last call is an act of divine compassion. It's like the Father's hand extended once more to the child who got lost along the way. It's like a spiritual clock ticking down the final minutes of a season that will not repeat. Not to create guilt, but to bring clarity, to remind you that the window is still open, but not forever. God is offering you something that many plead to receive and fail to recognize: spiritual awareness, clarity of time, discernment of what is being moved in heaven on your behalf. And that in itself is already a miracle, because when God gives you awareness, he is saying you are ready to understand what could not be revealed before. You're not being called out of obligation. You're being called out of love. God doesn't need you to fulfill his plans. He wants you. He chose to count on your voice, your presence, your yes. That's mercy. That's opportunity. That's answered prayer. And when heaven releases the last call, it's because something grand is about to be released and God doesn't want you to miss it. There is a harvest prepared in the spiritual realm, an abundance that has already been planted through tears, faith, and obedience. Heaven is no longer preparing seeds. Heaven is signaling that the fields are white, ripe, ready. But here lies a painful truth in this revelation. Few dare to step out and take the step of faith. Not because they don't desire the promise, but because fear still paralyzes, because logic still binds, because the scars of the past still scream louder than the voice of God. And so the harvest stands before their eyes, but remains out of reach. Because in the spiritual realm, it's not enough to see in order to reap. You have to move. You have to believe. You have to leave your place. God is no longer speaking of seeds. He's speaking of movement. He's saying, I've already prepared. I've already released. I've already removed what needed to be taken away. Now, who will rise and walk toward the field of promise? Most people hesitate. They wait for more signs. They ask for more confirmations. But there is a kind of blessing that only manifests after the step, not before. This is the point where many miss the timing of grace, because they wait to feel secure before walking, when, in truth, security only comes to those already walking. God is seeking hearts that advance even while trembling, that even in doubt say, Lord, I don't understand everything, but I trust you. Because true faith is not the one that feels, it's the one that obeys. You need to understand this. It's not God who is delaying, it's faith that's being postponed. The harvest is ready, but the reapers are distracted. The doors are already open, but many are still trapped in the trauma of the last fall. The promises are knocking at the door, but who has the courage to open? The time of waiting is over. Now is the time to reap. But this harvest will only be released to those who trust God's voice more than the winds of the world. When God's call is accepted, something begins to realign within us, not just in parts, but entirely. It's not merely a transformation of the mind or of emotions. It's a revolution that touches body, soul, and spirit. A complete reconfiguration of who you are, of how you see, feel, act, choose, and even of how you inhabit the world. This transformation doesn't happen abruptly, but it is deep. It begins with a restlessness you can't quite explain, with a desire to change, to quiet the external noise and listen to something higher, something truer. Little by little, your body begins to respond to what your spirit has already understood. Your habits change, your rhythms adjust. You start to care for the temple that carries the divine presence. Your soul, once burdened, begins to find lightness. The weight of old guilt, the pain of broken bonds, the echo of disappointments, all of it begins to dissolve in the presence that heals without speaking a word. God begins to treat the wounds with silence, to calm inner storms with peace. And your soul gradually learns to rest in the certainty that nothing is by chance, everything is purpose. And then the spirit aligns. It no longer resists what comes from above. It begins to flow, to listen with clarity, to discern with depth. It's as if everything finally finds its center. What was once fragmented now becomes whole. Body, soul, and spirit are no longer pulling in opposite directions. They are walking as one in the same direction, the perfect will of God. This is the true transformation. It's not aesthetic, it's not temporary, it's eternal. It's a spiritual identity being restored. It's a calling being established. It's heaven touching earth within you. And once that happens, there's no going back. Because whoever experiences this alignment understands there is no longer any path outside the presence of God. What you're living now is the birth of a new creation, a whole, complete, healed, and awakened being. Someone who is not just walking, but walking with purpose, with destiny, with a restored identity. The transformation is total, and it has already begun within you. If you've made it this far, understand this. It's not by chance. It's a response. It's revelation. It's confirmation that something greater is being activated inside you. None of this was just a beautiful speech. It was a divine call, a heavenly summons, and you felt it. Because the chosen one recognizes the voice of heaven even amidst the noise of the earth. even tired, even doubtful, even wounded. The soul awakens when it hears the vibration of where it came from. And if your heart burned with every word, it's because this call was made in your name. God is not looking for the perfect, He's looking for the willing. And you are being revealed now because the world needs your light. Don't get distracted by logic. Don't sabotage yourself with fear. Everything you need has already been placed inside you. Heaven is saying, I trust you. Now it's your turn to trust yourself. You are not part of the 99% who ignore the divine voice. You are that 1% who hears, who feels, who rises. You are the one heaven chose to live the extraordinary. The time is now. The call is this one. And the door is already open. If this message touched your soul, write in the comments, I heard the call, and let that be your seal with heaven. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe now, activate the notification bell, and walk with us. Because the next messages will be answers for those who are ready for the next level of the journey. Now, take a deep breath and receive this truth. You are not alone. You are not lost. You are being guided. And even if the world doesn't understand it, heaven already recognizes you. We'll see you in the next message. May God guard you, strengthen you, and take you even higher. Until then,